Holy smokes, it's awesome to be here. Wow, oh wow. Calvin, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is a community I really respect, and being here and walking this path together with you is my honor and privilege. My intention today is to bring my enthusiasm, share honestly, and hopefully allow someone in here to reflect on their own hero's journey and their own life. This is my first reunion. I'm in roomie cohort right now with Rand, Paul, and Chris, and I commence in February. I was asked to speak in September, and when I was asked to speak, I immediately said yes, but I had no idea what to share. So I messaged Calvin and told him the news. He said, "Wow, congrats. Whatever you talk about, it's already inside of you." I said, "Calvin, there's something in me that gravitates to the idea of traveling with purpose to a vague destination. By the way, did you know there is a word that means exactly that? Cottywomple. Traveling with purpose to a vague destination, and I only learned it preparing for this talk today. But again, I digress. So I told Calvin that I believe that I'm here to see what I can add to the stream of life, to see what I can give. And I believe that the way I operate, treat people, and engage on my journey is more important than my actual achievements." Then Calvin shared a really big insight. He said, "Maybe the destination is meaningless." I responded, "You start where you start, you end where you end. It's the frames in between that one can impact. Be in the business of living it to the fullest and most present." "Dude, Calvin, you really nailed it." "I didn't do anything, Rajesh, but ask questions and highlight words you already said." "Calvin, you were like active listening by text message. That is some next level active listening. For all of you ILP long-timers, wow, you are all next level." So today I want to share about my once-in-a-lifetime journey through the Labyrinth. And one important thing to note is that it's a labyrinth, not a maze. I get these mixed up sometimes. Also, when you look at the proportion of the center of the labyrinth to the labyrinth itself, it's pretty compelling. The destination may not be that important. When I'm not paying attention, not relating to the present moment, when I am lost, confused, or feeling regret, I'm living in the maze. When I feel in my head, heart, my guts that I am walking a single unambiguous path, I'm in the labyrinth. So here's my hero's journey. Here's my story. I was born in Canada. My family is from India, and I grew up in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. It was beautiful, but ridiculously cold. Like, this is an actual picture of how cold it gets in the river, and this sort of the river starts to perspirate, and then it just freezes in air. I had an idyllic childhood. There was a ton of love in my family. We were like a first-generation Indian family. We would like make pakoras in the backyard when other people would be doing like backyard barbecues of hamburgers and hot dogs. My father, he worked for the World Health Organization and also in academia. He was working to advance medicines globally and was a pioneer in bringing about the generic pharmaceutical industry and actually bringing that industry into existence. He was very successful and well-regarded. As a young person, I was brought up with prayer and God. And one of the first prayers that I learned, the very first prayer, Raji Shamaji, which means God, and Raji is Raji Shamaji, half male, half female, God, the spirit, the power of the universe, Acha Bacha Banao, which simply means, please God, make me a good kid. And I said it every day. My dad was traveling a lot for work. My mom would accompany him. And so my sister and I, at 12 years old, were shipped off to boarding school. We went to this incredible school called the Lawrenceville School outside of Princeton. And I got there from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and I remember walking around on campus, and I was walking on the path, and I was walking by someone, and they said to me, "What's up?" And I was like, is this a question? Is it a statement? Is it the sky? I felt really, really, really out of place and not prepared. Everyone had these little horses on their shirt, and they were carrying lacrosse sticks. There was an unspoken uniform and code. I really struggled. I wasn't prepared academically, and I wasn't prepared socially and emotionally. I felt super, super out of place. And for me, I turned to outside influences to try to fit in. I haven't shared this before. For me, what that looked like was drugs and alcohol. I thought that would fix me and make me feel okay. For a little while, it did. But my usage and frequency kept increasing. I graduated from high school, but it started to get dark. I went to college. I thought it would be a fresh start, but it got worse. The consequences kept increasing. My ego was rampant. By some miracle, I graduated from college. I had read a book by Bill Gates called Business at the Speed of Thought, and I founded a company upon graduation based on the ideas in the book. And it was this idea, we built a first product, and it was taking SAP and Oracle data and presenting it into a dashboard that business professionals could use to make better decisions about their business. I raised $5.2 million. I had great success with it. I was like, I am the man. Look at me graduating from college, reading a book and putting it all to work. I invested in a restaurant called Commune. People be like, oh, what's Commune about? It's this big idea about being together. We would have celebrities come and visit. I'd be hanging out with P. Diddy. At that point in time, it was Puff Daddy, but whatever. I had a Range Rover. I had a Park Avenue apartment. Externally, things seemed to be going really well. I'd meet friends from college. Wow, Rajesh, you really are making it. But there was a huge incongruence between how I was living and that prayer as a kid. I was not operating on my presence and purpose. I was not operating in a way where I put my head down at night and felt good about the person who I was. The dot-com bust happened. I ran out of capital, and I had to put that company into Chapter 11. And that was a huge blow to my ego. The best thing that ever happened to me. So here I am at 25, overworked, underweight, drinking, and bankrupt in every way. I hit rock bottom. I was totally and completely in a maze. I remembered the prayer, the one I said as a child, and it led me to ask for help. I reached out to my parents, to Dr. May, a psychoanalyst, friend of the family, and my friend Giroux. Giroux had struggled with a similar situation, and he suggested that I meet someone he knew called Mark. Now, you've heard the saying that life always gives you the exact teacher you need at every moment. Well, let me tell you, when I met Mark, I would have violently disagreed with that statement. Mark did not look, act, sound, or anything else like what I thought a teacher should be. By all accounts, Mark was the least successful person leading the least successful life. He was a blue-collar worker in a union, not polished, not wearing the right clothes. He swore way too much. He was certainly not a teacher I would have chosen, and nothing like what I thought a teacher should be. But Mark knew exactly how to break me down and build me back up. The first time I met Mark, he showed me a blank piece of paper. He said, "This is what you know about living a successful life." He banged on the table and said, "Nothing." He had a way of speaking that cut through the noise in my head. I was the kind of person where you would start talking and you're in the middle of your sentence and you'd be talking and I'd be like, I know. Mark was the first person to interrupt me and say, "No, you don't know, so why don't you sit down, shut up, recognize that God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, and try to learn something here." My head was like, you can't talk to me like that. But I was so beaten, so bankrupt, so empty, I was like, okay. From that mustard seed of open-mindedness, from that mustard seed of willingness, we went on a journey together. Mark had me start doing certain things on a very consistent basis. I prayed every day in the morning. At night, I would get down on my knees and I would thank the Spirit of the universe for the day. I volunteered for service opportunities. We met and read every week, sometimes multiple times a week. Philosophy, behavioral science, psychology, religious texts, history, which again was completely shocking given my preconceived notions of Mark. I followed Mark around to different groups and salons and communities. Mark would say things like, "If you want to learn karate, you have to hang out at the dojo." And more than that, Mark would make me do these incredibly embarrassing, ego-deflating things. One day I called Mark and he answered the phone and he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, I start droning on about myself and my problems. And he said, "Where are you right now?" And I said, "I'm 57th in front of the Brooklyn Diner." And he's like, "Well, listen, get down on your knees and ask God to help you." What, Mark? I'm in the middle of the city here, Mark, like on 57th Street, like right on the sidewalk. Do you want my help or not? Mark helped me to take inventory of myself. There was so much I was unaware of. I was honest with him. We went through my core wounds as a child. And through the work with Mark, I got free. And I started to live my life in the labyrinth. I started to realize that everything, absolutely everything in this moment in time is exactly the way it's supposed to be. Nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. I became a seeker. And on my journey as a seeker, I've realized that the Dalai Lama, the Bhagavad Gita, the St. Francis, Socrates, the Stoics, all the greats, they all recognize certain universal truths. The single, unambiguous path, the importance of consciousness, the sacredness of each of our one precious life. As part of my seeking, I visited the Dalai Lama. My dad, for his contributions to science, was invited by the Dalai Lama to visit him at his home in Dharamshala. I tagged along and brought my whole family. I was definitely not missing that. Definitely not missing that. And during our visit with the Dalai Lama, he said, "We are all the same. We are 7 billion people, and we are all the same. What causes loneliness, disconnection, and being angry is not realizing we're all the same, not different." Which reminds me of being an integral leader and embracing our yellow to find unity. He also said, most problems are man-made problems. And then he turned to my sister and he said, and some of them are women-made. And then he turned back to me and he said, but most of them are man-made. He shared that the universal path is love. I also have been, as a seeker, all over the place seeking. And one of those places took me to the birthplace of St. Francis. And if you haven't heard about this guy, St. Francis, or experienced this person, St. Francis, he has this brilliant spiritual axiom. He comes through the emotional ringer. And on the other side of it, he writes this prayer, the prayer of St. Francis. And, Lord, make me a channel of thy peace, that where there is hatred, I may bring love, that where there is wrong, I may bring the spirit of forgiveness, that where there is darkness, I may bring light. For it is by self-forgetting that one finds. What that means is that if I want forgiveness, if I want light, love, and joy, I gotta bring light, love, and joy. And as I walk my path in the labyrinth, that has become a key operating principle for how I'm trying to engage. Recognizing I want to bring light, love, and joy. In my life today, I strive to live with presence and purpose. If I can be present in the moment with who I am and the true nature of the world, then I'm already in the center of the labyrinth. But wow, is that hard. When I'm fully on, when I'm fully in the moment, and I'm fully in the moment with all of you right here, right now, it's awesome. But the light of consciousness is blinking. And it blinks off, and my phone will buzz, and the email will come in, and then you'll say that. And I have to breathe, come back, and start again. This is the idea that I keep coming back to. It's not what happens, it's how you relate to what happens. Whether you are in a maze or a labyrinth is a direct correlation to how you are relating to the present moment. I can make a choice to relate in a different way and immediately move from living my life to living my life in a maze to living my life in a labyrinth. This is not something that takes years and years meditating at the top of the Bodhi tree. It's like in this moment, like right now, I can make this choice to relate in a different way and immediately move from maze to labyrinth. Life is good. Today I practice the frameworks and tools that I learned from Mark and other spiritual teachers along the way. For the most part, I'm conscious, on purpose, present. I'm mostly living in the labyrinth. One of the things that I've been wrestling with recently is that I feel like the least successful person in my family. My dad is super accomplished. I mean, the Dalai Lama invited him to his house. My sister, who is 2 years younger, has, I don't want to compare, but her friend group is like better than mine. Like it's like really, really, really good. She has a great family. She has a killer job at a super large media company in a super large role. And then there's me. I'm CEO of Bottle Rocket, a company I love so much. I'm the president of a huge division of Ogilvy. I have 2 kids and a wife who I love. I have a successful career in life. But at times, I still feel like the least successful person in my family. I struggle with, what legacy am I leaving my kids? Will my sister leave her kids more inheritance than I leave my kids? When I die, how will my kids react? What will they think? I forget that this is my journey. And I forget that my purpose, as I've defined it, is not to leave material wealth, but spiritual enlightenment for my children to be successful in their lives. Sure, some material wealth, hopefully, but mostly I want them to be happy, joyful, full of self-esteem. I want them to have the education and tools to be successful in whatever they want to achieve in their lives, and not feel the pressure that I feel. I'm going to leave you with one final thought. But before I do, let me define the word dharma. Dharma, the eternal and inherent nature of reality, regarded in Hinduism as a cosmic law underlying right behavior and social order. When you're living in dharma, you're living in the labyrinth. Krishna, in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the greatest texts of all time, says it is better to strive in one's own dharma than to succeed in the dharma of another. Nothing is ever impossible. This is my one true life. This is my one precious sacred life. I need to strive in my own dharma. If I am fully alive, fully conscious, appreciating the interconnectedness of everything, if I can be here in this moment with you and appreciate the wonder and awe of how it all links together, if I can open myself up to the always emerging future and be shaped by each present moment, then this is the place. This is the center. We are in the labyrinth right now, in the center. Like it's right. We just saw it. It was there. Now here, it's here. Best of all, I'm not walking alone. You are my people. Like, hello, seekers. Let's go. But let's also stay right here in the moment. Let's go. No, we're right here in the moment, but we're going to go together. This is my final slide. Take a breath here. This is a picture from the spiritual birthplace of my religion. So I'm a Hindu, and this picture, I'm a Parnami, and this picture was taken in Panna, which is where, it's a branch of Hinduism. And this is a picture of my wife, Peggy, and our children, Atri and Asha, and that's my sister, Pooja, and her husband, Alan. And it means the world to me. Before I left home to fly to Dallas, I got down on my knees with my kids, and we said together, Raji Shamaji Acha Bacha Banao. I feel so honored and so privileged that I get to be alive on this journey with all of you, practicing my presence and purpose. This is my place. This is my community. This is my path. This is my one true life. And my blessing and my hope. The divine light in me salutes the divine light in you. Pranam and thank you.